Here's my analysis of what I see happening to us in recent times. First thing I want to talk about is the paradox of progress. We are obviously more connected, more efficient, and more advanced than ever. Although the culture somehow feels thinner, art feels disposable, intention feels fractured, and something about the progress we're making just feels off. There's a big epidemic in loneliness. People feel crazier than before. They feel the need to be medicated. There's much more drug use and pharmaceutical use. Even my uncle is on some sort of medication. So no, it's not just a kids today problem or oh, it's the phones. It's just how we find ourselves moving forward. And I want to ask, why do we find ourselves moving forward in this manner? Leading to my next idea that efficiency as ideology and why it's simply wrong. That's the root problem. What I think it is the issue is that we have efficiency as our dominant value. And that's been instilled in us since the Industrial Revolution. Since our country's been moving towards more capitalistic values, they favor efficiency over anything. And it hinders the actual existence of a culture rather than enabling it. What I mean by efficiency is maximizing output. It's fast. It's being able to scale things while minimizing friction, searching for efficiency through systems. This is how great programs are built, through systems. And what I mean by systems, rules plus incentives and tools that essentially shape behavior. The problem with systems is what really ends up happening is that these systems are being used. The search for efficiency causes to shape behavior without consent. Really, who ends up doing these things are big corporations, companies, governments, anything that moves like a conglomerate. They end up fighting for a piece of our mental real estate. And we're seeing all the effects happen in real life. We don't know how it's going to affect us down the line or how far it'll go, but it's not something I really want to find out. Really, what we have, or what I'm seeing that we have, is a sort of designed extraction that's been going on for a while. These systems have always been put in place by other people to propel ourselves forward in some way. Think about schools, institutions, religions. But not only are we seeing that happening, on top of it, we're experiencing technology exacerbate that sort of order. Designed extraction probably makes more sense to say, as the modern systems we have in place are obviously not built or put in place to serve culture. What we actually have in place is more to extract value than serve or build a culture. What I mean by extractive value is our attention is being extracted, our time, even creative labor. Maybe it's our soul or our essence, who knows? But why does this happen? Why is our attention, our soul, our essence, our time being extracted for profit? It can't be that our main purpose for you and I is just to be cogs in a bigger machine. But what is actually happening? I want to take a look at music streaming. Music streaming has sort of changed from a relatively unique idea and revolutionary technology to be able to listen to your favorite music. Now it's being put in place or changed gears towards the purpose of being optimized for engagement and not the actual music's meaning. For example, Spotify. It's not the best corporation on earth. They have algorithms that reward short intros, constant output, more playlist friendly music. In contrast, what they're looking for in songs or music is that they have to hit certain playable criteria instead of something that actually has meaning. They're looking more into playlists versus albums, and that's plainly just losing the ritual aspect of music, and instead it's becoming our background noise. Even Spotify themselves have said that the main competitor to Spotify is silence. It's gotten to the point where they're not just doing music and podcasts, but they're looking to implement videos and anything else that can take away from your silence. And they're able to profit off of that. That's what they want to use. To extract your attention from a pretty powerful reality maker that is your brain and the way it reacts with music. Essentially, it's a loss for us in our culture and our society because art becomes content. We're losing the albums. We're getting more songs towards trends in social media, towards playlists, and either artists adapt or they disappear. It's downright disappointing of our society and how these corporations try to take advantage of us. And I don't mean to romanticize the past, say how classics are better and how I yearn for older music or physical media. And I want to mention it's definitely not the listener's fault. It's just the fact that incentives reshape the behavior and we find ourselves in an underworld forming right in the midst of us. Another thing I kind of want to look at is AI and the removal of the creator. Some corporations are trying to use AI to remove the creator. It raises the stakes for companies being able to have art embody a logical endpoint of efficiency. It's able to be produced faster, cheaper, and it's able to be scalable. It removes the human from the loop, which is bad for our culture. Our focus is being taken away from actually creating our own art. It's not that the intelligence that AI provides is equal to our consciousness. It's not that output is equal to meaning. And AI is not evil. I don't want to debate its sentience. It's just that the displacement and the hollowing of authorship can have a crippling effect of our species or on our species as a whole. And that's how I'm viewing it. I personally believe that humans are meant to create, and the simple fact that we have scary stuff like this going on begs the question, what for and how is this going to continue forward? Spotify optimizing away albums, AI optimizing away authorship, these aren't isolated problems. They're symptoms of living inside something rather than using something. Now that we're a little familiar with some examples, let's get to the atrocities happening to us without even batting an eye. I want to share with you a story, a dream that my grandma and my father both had. Yes, they had the same kind of dream as they explained to us both at the kitchen table. What they saw was everyone they knew and loved happily playing in the mouth of a dragon. The kids they knew, their colleagues, people from church, they found them all playing, enjoying themselves leisurely, without a smidgen of worry or even acknowledgement that they are in fact in the mouth of a beast. My dad's reaction was, no, how could this be? You guys need to get out. The beast will swallow you. In worry of all the people he knew. While my grandma's reaction was just slightly different. And instead, She was disappointed how everyone claimed to have eyes to see and ears to hear, but none were able to open their eyes to the dragon that they have made themselves comfortable in. To discern this story, I believe, is to be an allegory for all our screens that consume us. Brings me to my next idea. The internet as an environment and not a tool. The internet feels unavoidable, right? I want you to think about it. In general, have you been using or looking at a screen more than you haven't in your overall lifetime? It's crazy to think about because this technology was introduced to us so recently. Looking at the technological advances from the past, we've had writing, languages, printing, and instruments. These are all used as tools. They weren't things that consumed us or created their own environment. These were tools for us to advance ourselves further, whether culturally or technologically. I'm sorry, I suck at speaking. However, the internet is more of an environment. It is always on. There's little to no friction to get on the internet or to use it, and it seems like there's no escape from it. Physical media is making some resurgence, but it's really hard to escape the internet's environment. You need a phone or email, some sort of phone number to get a job. It really makes it hard for people at the bottom. Not only that, your attention is constantly contested, and I don't want you to think that just logging off is an option because it's inescapable. It's not an addiction we find ourselves in. It's more the inescapability and the ubiquity of having this thing that we built, and it's consuming us for a lack of responsibility that we have. I want to take a psychological turn and ask ourselves why we invent external authors. With all that being said about these technological advances steering us in the wrong direction and our efficiency being used for worse, I want to ask, why do we reach for things like theories about aliens, religions about gods, and more theories about simulations or general beliefs when trying to understand what could be or what is? It boils down to this. When people feel optimized, placed like a cog in a machine, when they feel watched, surveilled, or managed, they invent external authors, not because they're stupid, but to explain that loss of agency. Thinking back to the past, we were in tribes, worrying about ourselves, then integrating into societies with norms and roles to fit into. And that's when theories about where we stand in the universe really started. And they start taking apart our roles. It's not that we haven't had them before. We lean on them much more now. And you can look around and see people adopting a certain type of programming, subscribing themselves to a philosophy or religion to run their life. A sort of programming to get a certain output. Not that they're true to these programs. They're more symptoms of people being in that system or loop where they're feeling optimized or managed. I'm not here to argue about your favorite conspiracy theory or that we live in a simulation or that your religion is correct or might be false. It's that the mental programming that doesn't really control your life, but you're letting it in as something to willingly influence your view of when life happens to you. And being able to perceive everything that happens to you through that lens. Henceforth, affecting the way you accept your reality. And that's why it's an iffy topic. I'm trying to translate myth to structure, and with something as woo-woo as that, I want to ask for your inclusion in my conclusion. The uncomfortable truth is that we are the authors. Although people look for an external power to blame or put their struggles on, the reversal might be true. The scary fact is that it might just be us. The system doesn't come from elsewhere. We built it. We're stuck in it. And we're drawn to it because we built this mastery of sedation to our reality. A sort of anesthetic system for us to dwell in. Are we trapped? I don't want to sound nihilistic, that God isn't real, or that there are no aliens, or that this programming or philosophical software is in vain. I want us to take responsibility for it. If there's no external author, then this is all changeable because we built it, and we can destruct it and deconstruct it. We can make it better. It's not going to be easy, and it won't end in despair, but I want each of us to take accountability for where we find ourselves. People have built their gods, their theories, their way of thinking, systemizing to have an external factor through which to view what's happening. I want you to settle with that discomfort. It begs the question, how do we move forward if we did build our gods, if we did build our philosophical software through which we run the world in our own lens? How do we adjust it to get our desired outcome or reality? The truth is that some things require slowness. Art may require friction, and some efficiency destroys what it touches. Efficiency is not the end-all be-all. As soon as it turns for the worse and we're being efficient for efficiency's sake, then we've lost the plot. I want you to ask yourself, what are we optimizing for? And what are we willing to lose to get it? No call to action cliches. Balance is not key. Understanding that it's going to be a slow and suffering battle. I want to leave you with a choice. You can keep reaching for external authors, the algorithm, the system, the theories about aliens, God, the CIA, anything that lets you off the hook. That's the comfortable option. That's the path where you get to take the backseat of a programming that isn't yours, but given to you as an option. Or you can sit with the harder truth. We built this system, which means we can unbuild it. Not all at once, not easily, not without friction or failure or feeling like you're swimming against the current while everyone else floats by. But here's what that looks like in practice. You choose the album over the playlist. You make something with your hands that has no output value. You let yourself be bored. You have a conversation that goes nowhere. You resist one optimization, then another. You stop asking, how do I maximize this? And start asking, what does this cost? The system wants your compliance. It wants you to believe you're too small to matter, that your individual choices are drops in an ocean. But the system is made of drops, and it's counting on you to not notice that. Like I said, this isn't about balance. It's about choosing what you're willing to fight for, knowing you might lose, and doing it anyways. That's what reality is, and that's what your reality should be, not some system of sedation. It seems to me that most people find themselves being pimped in one way or another, that something or someone is extracting their value, but that's not the way it should be, and I think we both know that. First off, I want to say thanks if you made it throughout the whole video. Please leave a critique on the way I think, honestly, the way I speak, maybe even the gameplay you see. I really like any feedback I can get, I'd appreciate. Um, Honestly, look forward to more sort of videos like this, maybe not as deep. I'm just venturing out, trying to find out what things I enjoy creating. Didn't mean to make it sound like a manifesto turned school project, but it is what it is. As long as I'm able to put something out every 2 weeks, that's what I'll be satisfied with. And even better if people enjoy it and are able to kind of comment on it, collaborate with it. Um, Hearing your thoughts would be greatly appreciated. And seeing how, if my words make a difference in others' lives, um, really, I just want to see what kind of impact I can do and the things that I can kind of create and analyze. But yeah, I appreciate it. Um, do greatly appreciate if you're able to critique me in some way. Like I said, I appreciate feedback. That's really all I'm looking forward to. Um, just because I know I'm not perfect. It's my second video or so. And yeah, enjoy. Hopefully, more to come.